I went into my bedroom, I closed the door, I took a rapid test, and the result came back positive. And I started crying. I was like, I'm done. I think I cried for a good 10 minutes. And then the 10 minutes were done, and I wiped my face, and I got up, and I was like, okay, let's figure it out.
Tell them your story, put it all on the plate. Clean, clean, celebration, baby, it's a new day. Mrs. K, I'm here to say what I said like Nene Leaks. I'm taking that Laura Beach for the breach. Yes, God! Wrap it up.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the second episode of All on the Plate podcast. I am literally recording this from my bed right now, like lying down in my bed, and my phone is beside me, and just wow. I really wanted the second episode to be even better than the first and be putting my best foot forward so that people could really get a sense of what this podcast is about and why we're creating it, and be like, oh, you know, I didn't even listen to episode 1, but I'm so glad I tuned into episode 2. I'm not sure if I'm going to pull that off, because for any of you who do know me and have been following, paying attention to what's going on my Instagram or whatever, your girl has COVID. It has been 2 years of this pandemic, and I've somehow managed to go the entire 2 years without getting this virus, but this week is my lucky week, I guess, and I've spent the last day and a half in my bed. Yesterday, I don't even know what yesterday was. I was in and out of sleep with the worst headache that I've ever had in my entire life. Just having my eyes open, being up, was so painful. So I mostly just stayed in my bed with my eyes closed the entire day. Thankfully today I'm feeling a bit better. I kind of still feel very sick, but at least I feel like a human again, and I can anticipate getting up and doing things. But yeah, here we are. Isn't this fun? For those of you who don't know who I am and you don't know what it is that we're doing here, my name is Khadija, and I am one part of a pop R&B group, Reverse. Our mission is to represent the underrepresented. So within our music and all the content that we create online, our goal is to offer representation within our group. We have different races, different genders, different sexual orientations, different body types, a lot of different things that we kind of are able to represent many marginalized communities. And for me, I felt like as much as we are able to do that in our music and everything that we put online, I wanted a space that we can dive deeper into some of these topics. We can build more of a community with people online and our fan base so that we can actually discuss and reflect on and help each other through navigating some of these really tough topics. So that's what we're here for. That's what this podcast is all about. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you stick around with me as I continue on this journey. This is only episode 2, and it hasn't been off to a great start so far because I'm lying in bed with COVID. But, oh no. Cute. Yeah. Before we really dive into the topics for the day, I just want to say a big thank you again to everyone who listened to episode 1, and especially big thank you to the people who subscribed on YouTube and who became patrons on the Patreon page. This being a brand new venture that I'm building from the ground up, a lot of what I want to create in my mind, I realize is going to take some time because we need to have an audience before we can do the types of things. And I've been doing music for so long that my audience is kind of always built in with music, but here we have to build it from the ground up. So even though it's only been a handful of people so far, I really appreciate the people that went out of your way to subscribe to the channel and to become patrons on the Patreon page, because this is the beginning of the community that we are building. So thank you, everyone. Now, I did go back and forth for a really long time about what I wanted the topic of episode 2 to be. This is still a really brand new podcast, and I wanted to make sure that people would kind of get a sense of what the podcast is about and who it's for, and I wanted it to be something that a lot of people might have on their minds or have on their hearts or want to be able to discuss. Because I know that there are a lot of things that the world in general is feeling right now, and there are a lot of common challenges that we're all going through just based on what's happening in the world. But then the Oscars happened, and Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and suddenly everybody on the internet was talking about that. And it really brought up a lot of things for me that I knew at some point I wanted to touch on this podcast anyway, but it was happening in the moment, and I felt like maybe this is an opportunity for us to really talk about this. For people who are on Patreon or who have visited the Patreon page, you know that my plan is to always have additional content there. So I wrote a blog entry about the whole Chris Rock and Will Smith fiasco. And really, it was more about people's reactions to what happened than the actual incident itself, because I realized I was noticing some commonalities in how people were feeling and how people were reacting. And that really is what this whole podcast is about. It's about us. It's not about whatever situation is happening in the world, but it's about how are we as human beings feeling in this moment. Having that blog entry out there have been a lot of really interesting discussions happening. People have been commenting, people have been sending me DMs. I posted a question sticker on my story on Instagram, and I got really interesting responses there. And I was going to use all of that to build today's episode, talking about this slapgate, whatever people want to call it, the slap heard around the world. But now, as I've spent the last day and a half lying in my bed, and I just don't really have the energy, to be honest, I just don't really have the energy to kind of go through all of that and compile it together into a thoughtful piece. I do still want to reflect on it, and I do still want to kind of break down a lot of what I saw, but I also think that maybe sharing a bit of where I am mentally today might be more helpful, because I think what I've been feeling over the last few days, being sick, having COVID, and kind of everything that's gone along with that, is definitely something that a lot of us have felt throughout the last 2 years in various ways. And sometimes we just need to acknowledge there's a lot of messaging in the world that's about like just being positive and just being grateful for your health and just being grateful that you have resources and just doing your best and let's find a way to make it work and all these things. And sometimes we just need to acknowledge when things feel crappy, when things are stressful and we feel like it shouldn't be this way. Just acknowledging that and hearing somebody else acknowledge that, to be like, whoa, okay, I don't need to feel guilty about the way that I've been feeling because other people are feeling it too. So I will explain more and I will dive into all of that a little bit more. But that's where we're at today. That's what today's episode is going to be about. We're talking about I have COVID and it fucking sucks. So maybe if I give you a bit of a lead up, and I will explain what was going on in life and my mental state, that might explain why I feel the way that I feel now. I had so many things planned for right now. So there was maybe a week and a half that was just super packed in my schedule. There were so many things that I had to do, and I was there with my to-do list, just trying to get everything scheduled out as best as I could. It was stressful. I could tell that I was stressing myself out looking at these lists and trying to get everything done, but I also was making the choice. I'm like, I'm doing all of this because I know that the more preparation that I put into all of this, the more smoothly it's going to all go. And at the end of it, it will all be accomplished and I will feel good. I will feel happy. I will feel like, okay, I've done the things that I needed to do. That being said, maybe it was Monday night, I was kind of putting off some of the things that were on my to-do list. So that had me there like shuffling again, moving things to other days to be like, okay, I'm not going to get to it today. There was something I just wasn't feeling up to it. I was feeling tired. I was feeling drained. If there's anything that I've really learned in the last 2 years, it's listening to my body. And there was a battle happening in my brain between, okay, do I listen to my body and just rest and not do the things, or do I push through and get the things done? I feel like that's going to be a whole episode in and of itself at one point, talking about this like hustler, go-getter, get things done society that we live in. But that's kind of where my mind was. Tuesday, I woke up and I felt sick. I was feeling stuffiness in my nose. My nose was running. It was hurting a little bit to swallow. And I'm like, I know these feelings. This is what I feel like before I get a cold. And I kept pushing it aside. All day Tuesday, I was doing so many things. I was up and about running all kinds of errands, which thinking back on it made me nervous because I was like, was I a super spreader? But as much as the world is like quote unquote back to normal here in Canada, in Toronto, they've lifted mask mandates. There's no vaccine mandates. Like, people are really living lives like there was no pandemic. I am not one of those people. On Tuesday, I went grocery shopping and I still did a grocery pickup. I was in my car. They put the groceries directly into my trunk and I drove away. I did a couple other pickups. I still wear my mask everywhere. I don't know. I'm not ready to live my life as though there is no virus. And would you look at that? Because here I am in my bed with COVID. So, But yeah, Tuesday, I was up and about all day doing so many different things. I came home. I was on my computer the whole day trying to get so much work done. And I just kept feeling more and more and more sick as the day went on. So by the afternoon, I went to pick up the kids from school. Half of the week, I have my son and my niece. So I drive them to school, pick them up after school. We do everything after school, dinner, homework, all those things, get ready for bed together, all that stuff. So I have 2 kids with me. That's my life, half of the week. I picked them up from school and I was just feeling so sick. And I realized, okay, at this point, anytime there are big symptoms like this and I know what's coming up for the next little while, I need to get a test. So we have some rapid tests here at home. I went into my bedroom, I closed the door, I took a rapid test, and the result came back positive. And I started crying. I was just at this point, I literally did not know what else to do. I did not know what I was going to do for anything moving forward in the next week and a half. I was like, I'm done. My brain, whatever, one little brain cell was hanging on, just trying to keep going, keep trucking through and figure out my to-do lists for the week. It was just nope. And it flew out the window and I just sat there and I cried for a good, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. I think I cried for a good 10 minutes. I messaged Reverse right away. I messaged my sister right away. And I messaged my son's father right away while I was crying and just let them know, hey, here's the situation. I have COVID. And then I sat there and I cried. And then the 10 minutes were done and I wiped my face and I got up and I was like, okay, let's figure it out. There's nothing that I can do at this point. It is what it is. And I will have time to be sad about this later. I need to figure out what is going to happen. So I can't even figure out right now how to lay this out and explain it in a linear way for you listening, because it was not linear at all for me. Essentially, Wednesday morning, I had a gig. So I am an artist, a musician, full-time musician, independent artist. I don't have a label. I don't have management. We do everything ourselves. We've been doing all of this, especially throughout a pandemic, and nothing has been happening. There are no gigs, no shows, no anything. So I also do editing, like book editing or proofreading, and I do voice work, reading for audiobooks. Additionally, on the side to make income, because I still have to make money to pay my rent and feed my child. So I had a gig Wednesday morning for an audiobook that was kind of a lengthier gig. It was 2 books that I was reading, which I had to cancel, and that was very stressful because that's a big chunk of income that I did not receive. And then Wednesday evening, Reverse was scheduled to sing at the Raptors game. It was Pride Night, which is a pretty big deal, and it was important for us to be there and kind of be representing the underrepresented, as we do, singing the anthems for the NBA on Pride Night, which obviously I would not be able to do. So then Reverse had to figure out, what do we do here? In addition to that, my sister and my niece have a trip planned for this weekend, and there are a lot of things that need to happen still within our household and just with our family. Usually I have the kids, but if I'm sick and I'm isolated, that leads my sister, who is working full-time, to then also have to watch the kids full time and then also do all of these things that they need to do to prepare for their trip. That is, if they are also not sick. So I had to figure out getting them tested. What does this mean for their trip? All of these things. Oh, so many things to figure out there. And then additionally, my son also spends the rest of the week with his father and his bonus mom and his little sister at their house. And so that was a whole other thing of like, has he been infected? If he hasn't been infected, but he still is in close proximity to me, is there some sort of danger to them and their family? His little sister is just a baby, so are we putting them at risk? And then their family as well, like grandparents and aunts and uncles on that side. Like, it's just, there's so much ripple effect. And I think that has been one of the things that we've all experienced throughout this whole pandemic, regardless of whether or not you yourself have gotten sick with COVID. It's the fact that everything around you is affected. So me as one singular person, even before I took the test, I understood that whatever was about to happen was going to have an effect on me, on my sister, my niece, my son, his father and his bonus mom and their family, on Reverse, potentially Reverse's family, everybody. Like, it ripples out to so many different people because of the nature of this pandemic and the nature of this virus. And that is so scary, and it is so frustrating. I think for 2 years, everybody has really just been on edge, constantly the state of anxiety of like, we need to make sure that life can continue. I know that it's a little bit different for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who have not been able to work or who have lost jobs altogether. There are businesses that have shut down completely. There are parents who have not been able to send their children to school, or have not been comfortable sending their children to school, but could not afford full-time childcare, and so have had to stay at home to watch their children. Like, there's just been so many different things. And for me, as an independent artist, we are completely our own business. Throughout this entire pandemic, anytime one person has been sick, it has affected our work. There are situations where if one person can't be there, then the 3 of us will still meet and try to get things done. But a lot of times where we've just had to flat out cancel a lot of the things that we have planned because somebody is sick and they haven't taken a COVID test yet, so we can't put everyone at risk. Being sick, that means I am out of commission. That means for the next several things that we have planned, I cannot be there. And that completely affects and limits what Reverse as a group, Reverse as a business is able to do. And that's stressful. That is so hard and so difficult and so stressful. We don't have paid leave. We don't have company benefits to help us through any of this. Like, we are just independent artists trying to continue working and continue generating income as best we can by ourselves. Being sick is just, it's not really an option. Or that's the way that we view it. That's the way that we kind of think about it and feel about it. We always want to prioritize our health and do what's best for us, and we do. There's always that feeling of like, what does that mean for me now, next month, being able to pay my bills? So this is it. This is kind of where my brain was after that 10 minutes of crying. All of these things happening simultaneously. Reverse group message is like blowing up, and then messaging with my son's father and his bonus mom and trying to figure out with them. They were super helpful, and they ended up bringing extra rapid tests for us, and they brought dinner for the kids because I was so sick and isolated in my bedroom and I couldn't make dinner, and just like trying to figure out, okay, so if this, then what? If that, then what? Figuring out what happens with these children and what happens with school and what happens with traveling and what happens with all the different things. And then my sister came, and she was there standing outside my bedroom and I was inside my bedroom, and us trying to discuss while the kids keep coming to the door and being like, okay, cool, give us a second. We're just trying to figure some stuff out, and trying to figure out, okay, what does this mean for their flight? And what does this mean for them getting their test, their COVID test before they can fly? And what does this mean about this thing that needed to happen this week, and that thing that needed to happen this week, and this thing that needed to happen this week? And like, oh, wait, what about that? And I don't know, wait, did you think about that? And have you sent me this? And did it like, just it felt like so many things all at once, and I was at the center of all of it. Everybody's messaging me at the same time or asking me questions at the same time, and I was like, my head feels like it's about to explode. In this moment, more than any other moment in my life, I want to just turn everything off and climb in my bed and go to sleep. But I can't, because this huge ripple effect is happening because I got sick. It was just, it sucked. That's really the only way to describe what that situation was and what that felt like. It sucked. I was like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired, and I'm in so much pain, and I cannot give any more of myself to any other people. That was literally the thought that was in my brain. I was like, there is no more of me to give to anybody else right now. And I just shut off. And then I just was cocooned in my bed with my eyes closed because my head hurt so much. And that has been my COVID experience so far. And why am I sharing this with you? That really is the question here. Why am I telling you this whole big long story of my very specific situation that probably nobody else would ever have experienced exactly the way that I experienced it? So one of the things that I have been trying really hard to figure out in the last little while is, where do we find the balance, and how do we kind of establish boundaries, not necessarily in terms of other people with us, but just for ourselves. My situation is fairly unique. As I've explained, I am an independent artist, and you really have to kind of be in the entertainment world and doing that independently to fully understand what that dynamic is like. But really and truly, there's a lot of feeling of, if I slow down, if I take a break, if I don't step up and do the things that need to be done, then my entire career is going to be affected. The people I'm working with, I'm going to mess up their careers. There's this big kind of weight that's put on our shoulders of like, we have to do all the things all the time, and it's gonna pay off one day, right? All of this work and all of this effort, one day we're gonna have support behind us. We're gonna have people that will be there who will believe in us and will help us to achieve these goals. We will have people who will want to be on our team and take on some of these tasks for us, and blah, 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 blah. but we're not there yet. So right now, we have to do it all. And I think that is unique for me as an artist, but it is a feeling that a lot of people have in general. Maybe you're working at a company and you've been there for a few years and you know you're on a path to promotion. I just need to hang in there a little bit longer. I just need to do this a little bit longer, or I need to work a little bit harder. I can see the promotion is coming up, or whatever the case is. A lot of us just have this idea that like, I need to work really, really hard right now and it will pay off in the future. And we keep justifying working and working and working and stressing ourselves out and just keeping that wheel turning constantly to the point that we have one little brain cell left hanging on by a thread, and you get a COVID test and you just snap and you start bawling. I feel like a lot of us are going through that. And maybe within the last couple of years with this pandemic, we felt even more pressure to just keep going because now there's a whole pandemic and we're at home and we are watching the kids all day because they're not in school, or we have to take care of our family members because they can't work, or whatever new things have popped up. We're stressed. We are stressed and we're putting a lot of weight and pressure on ourselves. And that's something that I've been aware of. I've been thinking about a lot. I've been reflecting on a lot. I've been having conversations with my closest friends about a lot. And I've been kind of trying to look at resources of like other ways. What other ways of living are there? Can I look at life from another perspective and see things in a different way that can allow me to do the things that I need to do without feeling this external pressure? I think it's something that we need to be mindful of. Throughout this pandemic, it is something that I've dedicated more and more time and effort and energy towards thinking of and being really mindful of. But even so, I very quickly and very easily found myself back in that hustle, go, work mentality of my to-do lists being pages and pages long and trying to organize and schedule every single second of every single day for the next week and a half so that I can get all the things done. It is such a habit that we have developed in this society of ours. We do it without even thinking about it sometimes. And so without really being aware of what's happening, we're also not aware of how it is affecting us mentally or physically or emotionally or spiritually. We're not paying attention to how all of these things are weighing on us in different ways and what that's doing to our quality of life. Really, more than anything, this pandemic in general is the opportunities that we need to just slow down and reflect. What are the things that we can change to improve our quality of life? I think that's really it. That's really what this whole me getting COVID and being in my bed and this whole experience, it is just a reminder for me of what I've already known and been saying throughout this entire last 2 years of wild pandemic that we've been living through. We need to slow down. We need to take some time to reflect and be mindful, ask questions, really look at our lives and pay attention to what is working well and what might not be working so well. Can we change any of these things? What can we adjust so that we can improve our lives, improve our relationships, improve how we are functioning in this world, improve how we feel about ourselves and our place in this world? They might be little things, but all the little things will add up to something big down the line. So it's worth it to take the time to just think about it and be honest with ourselves. I needed to slow down. I needed to slow down and I needed to relax, and I was not doing that. And because I was not doing that, the world, the universe, God, the creator, Allah said to me, hey, slow down. I'm going to make sure that you slow down. In fact, I'm going to completely stop you. Lie down in your bed. Don't do anything else. And that's what I've done. I was forced to stop and slow down. I have not accomplished any of the things that I had planned to get done over the last 3 days. And low-key, I am still stressed about that, but I'm also taking it as that is exactly what was meant to happen. I didn't get any of it done because I wasn't meant to get any of it done, and I will figure it out. There are things on that list that I will survive if they don't happen at all. There are things on that list that it's not going to work out the way that it was meant to for this month. Now we've hit the end of the month, but April is a new month and we're going to do new things in April. So just push it back a week or two. I just need to slow down. I hope that any of you listening who also might be feeling stressed out, who might be feeling overwhelmed, who might be feeling like there's too much on your plate. That's funny because I have been very aware that the title of this podcast is All on the Plate, and I created it because I wanted to lay it all out there. I wanted to serve it all up, put it all on the plate, have it all available for you to consume. But I also know that the other meaning of having a lot on your plate is when there's too much to handle, when you have a lot going on and you feel like it's all on your plate. And I kind of was like, is that something I'm going to play on at some point? Is that something that we're going to touch on? I didn't intend to, but I realize right now that is exactly what this episode is. Talking about it being all on the plate in the too much way. In the, I don't need to eat this much. Why did I think that I needed to walk through this buffet and fill up my plate with every possible option when I'm not even hungry? Relax, Khadija. Take some of that off your plate because it's too much. So y'all, if you have a lot on your plate right now, take a little minute, sit down, maybe look at your list and cross some of those things off. Say, hey, what can I do next week? What can I not do at all? And life will not end. Things will still keep moving forward the way that they're supposed to move forward. Because yeah, sometimes if you don't slow down, your body will slow down for you. And it's not fun. I'm gonna be real honest. I am hitting my threshold. My brain is tired now. This is the end of my lie down in bed and record a podcast capacity for today. I am glad that I was able to do this. I wanted to do this because I don't want the second week of the podcast for there to be no episode because I'm sick. That's no fun. This isn't still exactly what I wanted the podcast to be, but I am going with the flow and I am listening to my body and I am following the energy of what is happening around me. And this is what the podcast was meant to be this week. It was meant to be me lying in my bed and just talking to all of you and sharing what my adventure has been for the last couple of days. So again, thank you for listening. Honestly, I think I'm going to get some orange juice and then lie down and sleep a little bit more because I feel sick and it's awful. It's terrible feeling sick. To everyone who is out there still doing their best, still trying to avoid COVID, to people who have COVID, to people who are sick in other ways, to people who are dealing with long COVID symptoms that just continue onwards. Like, I'm just sending so much love to everyone. We are really trying our best and going through such a strange time in our lives. Who would have ever expected that we would be living through something like this? But we are, and we have been, and we continue to be. And I'm proud of everybody for managing it and getting through it the way that we have. And I know that we're going to be okay. And we got each other. We have each other through all of this. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for being here. If you can, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on YouTube, head over to the Patreon page and become a patron. You can follow the Patreon page. You don't have to make any sort of pledge. There is no obligation to make any payment for any of the content that we have there, but I will be adding extra footage, I will be putting video up, I will be writing blog posts, and hopefully very soon we can start doing some like actual chats, discussions that we can connect and build more of a community, because I really love connecting with all of you. So thank you so much, and I love you all. Still don't have a tagline, but you know, we'll figure it out. Until next week, bye y'all.
Tell them your story, put it all on the plate. Clink, clink, celebration, baby. It's